Disney villains. They're some of the most popular characters in the Disney library. But what makes them so great? I'm here to talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Diz TV. If this is your first time here, welcome home. We are so glad to have you. As I mentioned, we're here to talk about what makes good Disney villains. Now, everything I'm going to be talking about is somewhat subjective, mainly to my opinion. And of course, I thought, you know what, we might as well talk about some Disney villains since Halloween is next week. Kicking things off is motivations. I mean, come on, this is kind of the big easy one to handle. But there really is no motivations for the Queen of Hearts. However, you take somebody like Hades, he has motivation. I mean, his motivation is to rule Olympus. He wants to sit where his brother Zeus sits. But there's also other motivations too. Hook has the motivation of getting back at Peter Pan. Even though Peter Pan, you could technically say, is the villain of it, but that's a conversation that no one's ready to talk about yet. But there are different motivations for many of the different Disney villains. Most of the time, it's either to get to a certain status, or it's just to go after a certain somebody, aka Hook after Peter Pan, reach a higher status, Hades, Jafar, Scar, or, you know, we could go back to even the first villain, the evil queen, and becoming the prettiest of them all. It could be as petty as that, really. A quick tangent on colors. There's a certain color palette for Disney villains. I don't know if you've paid attention to this, but there's a lot of light greens, obviously blacks. You have your either deep or bright reds. You have sometimes deep golds or light blues, grays, sometimes a off-white. There's like a certain color palette, but they're like kind of off colors. The only color that's kind of like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, brown, white, pink, gold, silver type of thing is black. That's really the only one. Everything else is kind of a different shade. Most of them either paler or darker. It's one thing that I've kind of noticed. I know I went on a tangent there, but it was a good tangent. The next one is mannerisms. For instance, Gaston walks much more with his chest higher up. Gaston has much more of an ego to put with that as well. But with his mannerisms of how he's walking, he's very up and proper, thinking, again, I am the best person in the world, I am the greatest, I can accomplish anything I want to because it's me, that sort of thing. There are other characters that do that the same way, just a little bit different. Jafar does that in the same way. He has a little bit more of a, like, higher up type of mannerism, but at the same time, he's much more kind of sneaky about it. That's one thing to definitely note with some of the villains. Now, there are other things too. Some mannerisms, it's hard to contain. Hades is very sarcastic. He's the most sarcastic Disney villain we have. But his anger is second to none. He can switch like that, and instantly he's a raging ball of fire. Literally. But there's other characters too, like Ursula, who kind of slouch, kind of relaxed, kind of like, oh, woe is me for a little bit, but at the same time is very sly, very sneaky. I mean, she did, even though, lay out her whole entire plan pretty much in her song, she still did it in a mannerism that allowed Ariel to give up her voice and sign the sheet. And speaking of songs, the next point is songs. Now, not every Disney villain has a song. Hades and Jafar, technically, both of them don't have songs. The Queen of Hearts doesn't have a song. But certain Disney songs are just, like, insane. Two of my favorite Disney villain songs are Be Prepared and Hellfire. One thing to note with both of these is their use of color. For the beginning part of Be Prepared, it's a lot of the dark black / gray in a mix with a pale green / a like greenish yellow color. But towards the end, bloodthirsty red. But the use of color in that pops out some of the characters and pops out some of the mannerisms. In Hellfire, of course, the uses of the reds, oranges, and yellows, specifically with the fire itself, as well as the choir that has popped up in some of the song, contrast to Frollo, who is in a dark purple and black coat. So it contrasts in that sense, plus the nighttime and the color of the fire and the lights of that gives a more ominous tone to specifically his character. And of course, the biggest thing when it comes to Disney villain songs is they're talking about their motivations for what they want to do. Be Prepared is in preparation to kill both Mufasa and Simba. Hellfire, of course, is talking about Frollo's infatuation with Esmeralda and his hatred/love for her, which is very weird, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Of course, Friends on the Other Side is Dr. Facilier trying to get a deal with the prince so he can do his mischievous things and robbing the richest person in New Orleans out of his money. Even Poor Unfortunate Souls, which I just mentioned earlier, is pretty much laying out most of the plan and the consequences even of going against Ursula. She talks about it in the whole thing, but at the same time, it's done in such a way that Ariel, like I mentioned, signs the sheet and gives up her voice. It's like, that makes no sense. Another thing that could possibly make good Disney villains is their henchmen. Most villains that you see don't really do the dirty work until the end of the movie. For example, Dr. Facilier has his friends on the other side doing most of the dirty work. Scar has the hyenas, Hades has Pain and Panic, Jafar has Iago, and the Queen of Hearts technically has the White Rabbit-ish. No, not really. Am I pushing it? I'm pushing it. But most Disney villains have some sort of henchmen, have them avoid getting their hands dirty, until they have a little Thanos moment, putting on the gauntlet and saying, fine, I'll do it myself because y'all suck. But another thing to note, even with some of the Disney villains, even their henchmen can come back to bite them. This is not only the case with Scar at the end of The Lion King, but it's also the case with Dr. Facilier, as he's pushed the limit of the Friends on the Other Side. Time to pay your dues, my friend. Ultimately, Disney villains are some of the best characters. Their motivations, their mannerisms, the way they look, dress, their color schemes that were given by the animators, their songs, but Disney villains are some of the best characters in Disney. I listed only a couple examples, but now it's time to turn it over to you. What are some of your favorite qualities about Disney villains? Maybe it's something I didn't mention. Maybe it is something I did mention, but I kind of left out as an example. You let me know in the comments down below. Don't be shy. I will reply to every single one of you. And other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you today. Now, of course, we do know that Halloween is in 1 week, and yes, we will have a little Halloween special here on Diz TV. Now, you may know what it could be. I don't know. I'll have to leave a hint. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, again, another welcome home to you. I would love for you to subscribe down below and hit the bell to be notified for more videos on Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, the parks, and so much more. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a villainous day. Goodbye.